Chronic.
Hello.
Hey, brother, what's going on?
Just hanging out, man. Hanging out, being DeFi, living that life.
I do know. So quick. Let me get my quick spiel out at the beginning here for future recordings and listenings. That anything that goes down in the approximate hour take, these don't necessarily reflect Felix. This might just be my personal opinions and my beliefs, and not necessarily reflect the company. I say that to say this: I'm kind of a PaintSwap maxi. There might be some bias coming through a little bit, over the next hour or so. I've been using PaintSwap for a long time. I'm also a bit of a Chronic fan.
Geez.
I'm just saying, not to make it weird, the man that I'm speaking to this evening, a fan. I'm an advocate of art, NFTs, etc. So if it sounds sometimes like maybe I'm overexcited or biased, there's a very clear reason. That's because I 100% am. So, so that's why I have to get that out there. You know what I mean?
Just being real with you guys.
I'm just being blatantly honest. All right. I'm a super fan. I'm down with the beardies. I like the whole vibe. PaintSwap fan. So anyway, let's get into this. I'd like to start with, I'm so stoked that you decided to come on with me. And when I reached out and was like, man, I'm finally going to get to talk to the PaintSwap guys. I was excited that you were going to be the dude.
I had the exact same moment. It was so hilarious when A-Rod added me to that chat, and he was like, so, do you know COMA? I was like, man.
I feel guilty that I hadn't followed. Like, I lose people for a minute. And like I said, I was so excited that it was you. So, I mean, it's tough because we could jump around so easily. I know I kind of gave you a rough outline for what I was hoping to do. So, but we can hop around a little bit. But for people that don't know you and are not Chronic super fans, before we parlay into PaintSwap, do you have, what is your artistic background and everything? I mean, obviously working for a company like this, I'm sure there's usually something in the mix from your past that makes you an obvious candidate to be on the squad and the team.
Well, man, for everyone who doesn't know who I am, I'm, like you said, I'm chronic dispositions. I've been around in the Phantom community. Actually, I did a fun thing where I checked my first Phantom transaction the other day, and it was transferring in funds for the Strange Brew Mint back in,
nice.
What was that, October 2020, I think? No, not quite that long ago, but it was a hot minute ago. About a year I've been in the Phantom space. And around the time that I joined the space, PaintSwap, maybe 2 months later, 1 month later, launched the first NFT marketplace on Phantom Opera. And, it was a very big deal. Everyone was extremely excited about it, myself included. I was brand new. So it was really awesome to see. And I just kind of followed PaintSwap from there. I was learning to be an artist, that I was, in fact, an artist, in addition to being a writer. So I kind of followed that progression naturally into the PaintSwap Discord, where I found myself first seeking help and then giving help out to others in the community, as I, saw people come across the same issues that I was having as a new creator in the NFT space. And that, again, just naturally evolved into moderating in that Discord. And one day, it's been a couple months now ago, A-Rod hit me up and he said, man, you're doing a lot for us. If there's ever a time when you think you might want to have a position on the team, I'm sure we could figure something out. Business development, community building, these are my innate skill set, which is great. All you got to do is be a cool person, fairly sharp mind. I think those both apply to me, maybe. And so I signed on with the PaintSwap group, and it's been a very rewarding experience since. Heavily involved in the alpha testing for version 3, as I was for the alpha testing in version 2, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so it's just really awesome. It's cool being on a team with, the most cutting edge developers I've ever worked with. It's really amazing. I work also in software in IRL, if you will. I work in software IRL, and so I've been around quite a few developers with a bunch of different skill sets, and I can say with confidence that the PaintSwap team is the most innovative I've ever worked with.
I have PaintSwap pulled up right now. I want to go through and discuss the V3. That's definitely part of it. There's 2 things that I'm hoping to happen tonight. One is we become best friends. Okay,
Done.
so step 1,
you got it.
That's what I would like to accomplish. Step 2 is just to discuss, how amazing PaintSwap is, and the thing about PaintSwap for other products is how many other facets community-wise can be involved in it. Now, if you're holding on something like, other projects that I'm a fan of, let's just say Liquid or whatever, like for PaintSwap, it's like also all these different collective communities from all these different NFT communities, then also these different artists, then it parlays into there could be more going on and more intrigue and more ins and outs for a project like this, a marketplace, when you have this amount of people involved and the amount of different kind of communities, because each individual NFT kind of has its own separate subset. Like, in your opinion, as far as communities and stuff are concerned, like if we're talking about
absolutely,
if we're talking about the PaintSwap Discord, I would assume that there's different kind of subcategories and genres and what people are into. Can you get into that a little bit, community based?
Well, so our PaintSwap Discord, we don't, at its core, PaintSwap is about decentralization, which, it's reflected in the fact that we're an open marketplace. You can list any item you can hold, other than a very small handful of blacklisted stolen art projects. And that decentralization kind of translates into the Discord as well. Our Discord, it's here for our brush holders, and it's here for creators to stop by and say, hey, I need some help with something. You'll see from brand new creators you've never heard of to, OGs like and just everybody in the PaintSwap Discord. Receiving assistance from the PaintSwap team, but we don't want people's communities to have to be focused around our Discord. We think it's beautiful that everyone has their own vibrant community. So you can run into somebody from, any community at any time in the PaintSwap Discord.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what's so amazing. You know what I mean? It transcends. And the other thing that I like, I have a lot of experience mostly on fans as far as artwork is concerned, but it was been fun to me as far as interacting with a lot of the communities in the NFT space, is that the reasons why they came here were different than your average crypto investor a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Which brings in a different kind of breed of people and a different kind of level of just type of person to interact with, right? Like there's the Moon Boys, and I say this with love. Because I have a portion of this from my heart. I didn't join crypto in hopes of one day owning an NFT. I wanted to turn, you know what I mean? I wanted to turn my last $100 into 100,000 or whatever. But
exactly.
Here we're meeting people that are like, I have a friend who's really artistic. I think that he could gain something from, joining the PaintSwap Discord, or for trying to put out his first NFT, or trying to market themselves for the first time, right? There's so many talented people out there, but this is like a different avenue and a different type of person that's coming into the space, which I find interesting. Do you find the same, or?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that one of the most, and especially now that we're getting so many centralized exchanges with Phantom assets on them, the onboarding and accessibility of new users into diverse communities is what makes Phantom, like, beyond the gas fees and the high security standards of Phantom Opera, right? That's awesome, and we love that. But the ability to put somebody on here who wants to put $5 into cryptocurrency, and they can operate in this ecosystem, and they can meet all kinds of artists. There's not a lot of gatekeeping for new artists walking in the door. You know, it's just a great place for new people with zero knowledge base to come in and become a part of a community, to be validated by a community. And you know, that accessibility it's another thing that's I've always loved about PaintSwap. Even before the UI collection submission and all that, when we were all DMing Paintoshi and Sandwich to get our collections live, right? The question wasn't, what's your collection? The question isn't, what are you doing with your collection? It's, what's your contract address? Is it verified? Done. Come on in, you know? And that's something extremely unique. And Phantom Opera is the only place that I've come across. Now, admittedly, I fell in love when I got here, so I haven't looked all that hard at other places. But
a couple of us have done the same. You're not alone.
Right. But, you know, it's that level of accessibility to, again, just completely diverse creators and people and attitudes all across the space. You know, it's amazing, and it's heavily unique to Phantom, and I love it so much.
I also love, one of the other things that recent gas prices aside, now when we were talking, you've been on Phantom for a while, I've been on Phantom since early 2021, and I just remember early NFT days on Phantom, like the barrier to entry was just so accessible versus things like ETH, right? Like when you're a new artist and you're like, oh wow, well maybe someone might buy this, but to even mint it was going to be like $100. Right. When you would come on PaintSwap and put yourself out there for penny, maybe
5 cents.
You know what I'm saying? and that's what I loved, and I also think that in itself has been a good catalyst to, not only bring people onto Phantom, but to bring onto people like, to come onto things like PaintSwap, because the barrier to entry, I mean, a lot of artists don't have extra hundreds of dollars laying around to try a new thing. But and even when times are tough, usually someone can find a nickel to try to put out, to try to hopefully to put out, a piece of art and get not only people possibly buying it, but feedback and validation for something that maybe they never got before. We've met, how many artists have you met that hardly anyone had even seen their work before you've seen it, right?
Oh, man. Absolutely drug into the light by their friends, like you said, onto the blockchain. Just forced to do things. Look at Masochist. Masochist didn't want to release anything, and this dude's sitting on 4 sold-out collections right now. It's amazing to me. But I will say this: I need to correct something. I misspoke earlier. I said that PaintSwap was creating the first NFT marketplace on Phantom. That is not accurate. What PaintSwap was doing was allowing people to deploy and sell off of their own contracts rather than off of a community contract, which prior to the PaintSwap marketplace was the standard for NFT marketplaces on Phantom. So I misspoke on that earlier, so I apologize.
And you're forgiven. Now we have blown off the rails. I have totally thrown my outline of how I thought this was going to go out the window. Instantly. I do want to circle back to these things, but now that you brought it up, which if you can explain for layman's terms, now this is actually was a very important thing at the time, as far as, holding your own collection and everything being on your own contract versus a community contract. Now, can you kind of speak and explain exactly why that was pivotal and important thing to take place that PaintSwap did?
Absolutely. So from a fundamental standpoint, let's take it down to absolutely the highest level overview here. An NFT It is an identified asset that exists on a contract. And when you hold that, you have ownership of that asset from that contract. That's what your NFT is. It may have a photo. It may have, a game attached to it. It doesn't matter. What is the fundamental bones of an NFT is the ID of the asset as it relates to the contract that it is associated with. So that's what an NFT is, right? Now, when we talk about, quote, collections, what OpenSea does for the most part, and what quite a few marketplaces at the time were doing about a year and a half ago, was they would deploy an NFT contract, allow you to then mint your items on that contract, and use the front-end website, the UI, to divide those minted items into, quote, collections. Now, there's a very important distinction here, right? PaintSwap, each collection is a contract, keeping to the core fundamental of what an NFT is. That's why whenever PaintSwap launched alongside ZooPet, which was out at the time, there was actually a mandatory migration in order to sell in the Tombheads auction house from Zoo to PaintSwap so that your NFT would be, by the classic definition, a proof of ownership of your artwork, and your artwork itself would be independently identifiable as that contract address. I feel like I may have gotten a little granular with that, but I think that was pretty high level, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, no, so I mean, it's tough to say because I understand what you're saying. I'm following. I don't know that, my mom wouldn't necessarily follow that journey, but yes, it was.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ethel out there,
Not that she's
like,
listening.
what?
She's not listening anyway. So it's neither here nor there. But it is important to be minting on your own contract versus a community contract, and it was a very important and is an important thing to have set up for your collection and as an artist.
Right. Yeah. And so that was kind of the crux of what PaintSwap launched. And as an open marketplace, PaintSwap doesn't deny collections unless they are stolen. If they are provably stolen art, then they will be denied. Or if they're malicious in some kind of way. We have had to blacklist one malicious collection. There was never any risk through PaintSwap, but they had, I can't recall the name of it, something about computer parts, and they had people mint in USDC, drain their wallets. It was ugly business.
Oh, man.
But anyway, it's an open marketplace, so everyone is allowed. And I'm going to tangent again. I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to.
No. I actually, I'm a tangent super fan. Go.
I am a human tangent. I just remembered why I was so immediately in love with PaintSwap. So I submitted a collection, my first ever collection. It's still on PaintSwap. If you want to see something I consider unremarkable at these days, it's called Natural Causes. Go in there, check it out. I submitted that collection to Zoo, and the collection itself is a photography study of insects that died of natural causes, birds that died of natural causes. So, I mean, it's dead stuff, No two ways about it. It's dead stuff. I get it. Not for everybody. Whatever. Zoo denied it, and they said, this is grotesque. This has no place on our marketplace. And so I went straight over to PaintSwap. I had somebody deploy me a contract that same day, and
well, then
the rest is history.
Yeah, let's circle back because we did not touch on that. And again, I know I've completely bastardized our outline here. I blame you directly.
Yeah,
but
it's my fault.
No, it's also mine. But I'm a tangent junkie. But can you speak a little bit about your background in art and people that don't know you? I know you're an amazing, I was going to say accomplished writer. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
I wish I could accomplish getting paid. That's what I need to accomplish.
I was like, I don't know. I don't know what exactly defines accomplish. Like, I know you're talented as hell. So so I guess let's set it that bar. I don't know how many awards you've won, but we know we know you're an artist. We know you've taken pictures of dead things, and we know you write. But can you talk a little bit about your background? Like, I'm curious again, so now you're a team member on PaintSwap. So, like, can we talk a little bit about your background and where you got your start in the art world, just so people kind of have, a starting place, an idea of what may have gotten you here?
Yeah, for sure. When I was probably 17, I think, maybe a little younger than that, I was fortunate and privileged enough to luck into a school trip to go overseas to France and Spain. It wasn't free by any means, but, my family happened to have the means to make that happen for me. Couldn't ever have done that independently on ourselves, but my school happened to have this. It was a EF Tours trip, which are discount school trips. Anyway, and I took this trip, and we went to museums across France and Spain, to the Musée d'Orsay, the Louvre. We went to, I forget the name of it, the Modern Art Museum in Barcelona as well. And I was exposed firsthand to these just legendary works of art. We went to the home of Salvador Dali.
These are bucket list locations, right?
Yeah.
These are dream locations that you're hitting at 17.
Exactly. And, what's amazing is I was most struck by the street art of Europe and its differences in the street art that I'd seen where I was from, small town. I'd seen dirty words spray painted on buildings,
Okay.
Like the occasional like big funny looking Pac-Man or something.
Okay.
But to go and see like full muralized walls in the center of a 700-year-old city, it just something clicked in my mind, and I was taking photos with my digital camera that used AA batteries.
Okay.
I was taking photos of all this art, the statue area at the Louvre, and like all of these things. And when I went home, I just started editing them and making them like look pop art-y. I don't really know why. I wasn't selling it. I wasn't even really showing it to anybody. I was just doing it, and it pleased me. And then I spent probably 2 years doing that while I was in high school, making what I called digital abstract art. And then I spent about 10 years not doing art at all, not even the slightest bit of visual art. There was some personal things that happened with me, and it kind of took me entirely out of that headspace. And then when I was joining up with Fractal Studios to write the story of Lexicon, I just was suddenly immersed in a world of art again. And it was something just kind of clicked for me. I went back to taking photos. I went back to my roots in doing photo manipulation. Currently I have I think 5. I don't know. I've got a bunch of collections on PaintSwap. None of them have really done extreme volume, to be frank, but it's been very rewarding to relive that in my life. So in that way, art's been very present in some very formative times of my life.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I don't know how you could work for a company like this or a project like this with not, even if you weren't necessarily innate creative, like to be around that much art and that much good art all the time. I feel like if you weren't inspired before that, you would have to be.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, and you'll hear devs talk about this all the time. Devs bring it up that code is art. And I think that that's a very important thing to recognize here too, is, we've got people writing Solidity that has never been written before. and writing it elegantly, writing it in such a way that the contracts can actually perform their functions efficiently. And so if you want to know about the artistry of the rest of the team, just, take a look at the website. Use the website. The way that it works is not by accident. These are brand new things that have never been done before, and they're developed from the ground up. ERC 721 bulk transfer, which may just be gibberish to some people, but to whom it's not, that doesn't exist until PaintSwap made it happen. And that's really incredible. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Coded into existence.
And now you're right. We've tangented, but I do want to talk about PaintSwap. It's very important. One of the main reasons, besides us building this amazing friendship, that I wanted to sit down with you tonight. So as far as I know you, again, from actual coming to fruition originally, I know that you came onto the team a little later, but I mean, I'm sure you and A-Rod have discussed it. Now, as far as him, deciding to build PaintSwap and deciding to build on Phantom, do you know, why he made those decisions or what inspired him to come over here and do this and get this going?
Yeah, so the original team of Cheese Knight, Norm, Paintoshi, A-Rod, Die Harder, Sandwich, I definitely did just look at a list of.
I was like, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. So the original team, is a team of 6 people. They were like-minded developers. They were friends before the PaintSwap idea even began. But they had been looking across at various chains, much like a lot of us were at the time.
Yeah.
Because of the ETH and BSC.
Yeah, you're trying to find a home, and
mm-hmm.
ETH was expensive and very, saturated. BSC was rug fest. My first honey pot and shit was on BSC. And, people were pretty tainted by that. And myself included, people were trying to find a home at that time.
Well, and, it was really interesting. Reading the things that you've just said, they're the same arguments everyone is always given against both of those chains. Ethereum, even then, the gas fees are extraordinarily high. BSC, full Binance Smart Chain, for those of you who aren't aware, the centralization there is extreme, which is against everything that you could argue against everything that crypto stands for, but certainly against everything that the PaintSwap team stands for. Is highly, highly centralized. Phantom, on the other hand, secure, fast, cheap, done and done. So the PaintSwap team decided to kind of go against the grain of the typical site that was launched, the typical DApp launched on Phantom, and wanted to do something more bright and I guess optimistic is a good way to look at it. Than the ghosts and the spooky we all love our ghosts. We all love our spooky
that's
stuff.
The vibe, but I think that's another interesting point that I wasn't even really thinking about until you said it. That as far as a DApp and just an overall vibe and aesthetic for PaintSwap versus a lot of the other stuff, especially early on, was so kind of that dark, spooky type of ghost vibe, and PaintSwap was very much its own thing. You could have
Some would say very unprofessional.
Wasn't it fun? No, I mean more fun. You think more fun?
More fun is the way to say it.
Yeah. Well, people get so used to the, myself included, the very iPhone-esque.
Mm-hmm.
The way that things are portrayed, that just feels that what we've been tricked into thinking is professional, right?
Exactly.
We've been presented on, for certain brands, corporations, etc., are this should be a quasi standard for visually or just aesthetically what something should look like. And the guys, the PaintSwap crew originally departed from that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, they obviously they didn't mind. They weren't trying to play inside the box, right?
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing too. Is regardless make a big deal about it. You know, they weren't like, "Oh, are you tired of things that are scary or whatever?"
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, "This is who we are, and we hope you like it." Right. And that's what's so important about it, really, is being yourself rather than, and this applies, everybody here's your life lesson for the spaces. You know, it's so important to be and present your true self. And that's, I think, what the team was really aiming for, was not to come in and emulate what existed, but rather just be, you know, and that's, I think, has been accomplished very well. You cannot mistake PaintSwap for another site, period.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more. As far as like, I'm looking through my list here, and one of the things I wanted to discuss that I'm always curious of, because I'm also a fan not only of the dApps and the projects themselves, but I like hearing about the team. I like hearing about some of the building. I like to hear about what some of the things that they went through. Now, this can apply to what you guys are dealing with now, but as far as challenges wise, building a marketplace, you know, whether on Phantom or just in general, like what are some of the major challenges early on that either you were hearing of or you guys were dealing with?
Well, so this is one that I can speak directly to this, both from my time as a moderator and from like the answer the guys gave me. So I did put forward some of these questions to the team, just to make sure we were all on the same page. And the thing that they gave to me as their original biggest challenge, I've seen continue to be the biggest challenge, from DEX to NFT marketplace, losing DEX every minute of every day, and it's prioritization, right? Because we are in such a vibrant space, man, and everything on Phantom is community first, period. And if you don't entertain and you don't listen to the community, then you will fail. Full stop. You know, and so from the very beginning, it was a struggle for PaintSwap to listen to the community, apply the feedback of the community to the project itself, but do so in such a way that wasn't detrimental to the continued development of PaintSwap. And that's something that right now, you know, we're running into. You know, because we've released a ton of revolutionary stuff in the last couple weeks, right? And there's more currently in development. We're sitting on projects to skin up and make look good so we can put those out. And so there's this constant flow. It is your workflow. You know, everyone whose job is familiar with that. But prioritizing in the immediate needs of the community, you know, that has to be a thing. So it's a challenge. You know, we run into it every day. I think that one of the reasons that I'm speculating, I think that one of the reasons that I was brought on to the team is because I have a pretty thorough thread woven in the community. You know, I'm pretty tapped into what's going on. So, for instance, we start seeing traversal popping up everywhere. Everybody wants to do traversables. All right, well, we're going to need to support that. How big a priority does that need to be? Well, how many contracts are going to need it? And it's looking like a lot, you know. And those are the conversations that I'm watching unfold in front of me that I then bring back to the team. And those have to be prioritized against existing work. Do we abandon a project in order to make this happen? Or, you know, whatever. I could continue rambling on about it.
This wasn't a thing yesterday.
Exactly.
And this wasn't yesterday. And now today, it's not only just a thing. It's something that we need to take advantage of sooner than later. But you already have an aggregate of work that you're working on and trying to put out. And now you got to rejuggle and reorganize either the rollout, prioritizing manpower or whatever. And this is constantly evolving and workflow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's fine. That is the life of technology, whether it's blockchain, whether it's automotive, whether it's medical. Technology is an ever-evolving field, and it will never stand still. So that constant battle against prioritization, it's just part of the life, you know, and you have to deal with it. If there's something that you think needs to be made live sooner than later, you have to advocate for that. And if you're not willing to advocate for it, then it must not be that important. That's how we look at it in my day job company. That's how we look at it at PaintSwap.
Interesting. And that makes sense. You know what I mean? I think one of the nice things that is you've articulated some kind of latent things that I didn't even really think about but a lot of what you're saying absolutely makes sense. That priorities in general are constantly evolving, especially in the technology space and right now. And in the quote unquote, I don't want to be negative, but let's just say bearisher market, less bullish market is actually a very, sad for some, but a very beautiful for others as far as building's concerned.
Yeah.
And especially during this time of building is when a lot of this is happening and a lot of these things are coming up where it's like, oh, wow, all of a sudden this is now relevant where it wasn't a week ago. Now, as far as PaintSwap, another question that I had on here. Now, you brought up decentralization. I know that's a recurring theme, but like as far as your guys' mission statement, not only what you're doing, but what you hope to do, like if you were going to put out PaintSwap as to what you guys are looking to accomplish on a higher level, like what would be the mission statement, would you say, for PaintSwap?
Well, I mean, decentralization is at the core of that. If I was standing in front of a board of billionaires and I had to sell them PaintSwap, I would say, imagine a world where the most talented developers and artists in the entire world can trade freely their products in one space without any sort of logic against that trade, right? That's what we want, an open and decentralized marketplace. If you are creating a product and people want to buy that product, they should be able to do that on PaintSwap. Now, the world we live in is the blockchain world. Those products are NFTs on blockchain contracts. NFT is such a broad thing. I mean, we're looking right now. We were the first marketplace on Phantom to host interactive NFTs. Those are games that you can own as a token. That's incredible. That could be a website design that you're selling an app token, with that token being proof of work, and PaintSwap can make that possible. Now we've got financial NFTs locking funds for users in a non-fungible token, the most permanent of items. It's revolutionary stuff, and the goal of PaintSwap is to be open, and by open we mean we do not reject you for your content. We will only reject you if you have stolen content or are a malicious actor. And decentralized, you don't need our permission. We don't have to give you permission to use PaintSwap. You just do. And that's it. And that's on a contract level. And I think that's incredible stuff,
I agree. Now, this is the point. Now, A-Rod told me that he's on a different time zone, and he was like, I'm going to listen tomorrow. So he's going to be listening to this in 12 hours. So this is the point in the conversation where I want to say, let's talk about V3, right? I want him to
Hold on, I'll write the timestamp real quick.
I want him to be proud of us. I'm hoping up until this point he's not like, what are we gonna really all right. So and this is it. This is where we reach the conversation, and I want these answers too. I'm not saying that I haven't been paying attention, but I've kind of only half when a TV show's out and you don't want to hear about the ending, so you kind of been trying to not pay attention to what's going on.
Absolutely.
I've been kind of doing that with V3, but I 100% want to hear about it starting right now. Now, tell me what you guys got into, what you've been doing. You know what I mean? I mean, I've heard reading it on Twitter, seeing the stuff that's coming out. I've been trying to take a blind eye to it. So I have PaintSwap pulled up just so you have a visual of what I'm looking at. Now, what did you guys get into? What did you dream up with in this third version here?
All right. Well, the first thing you're going to notice is not the first thing that was added. Well, no, the first thing you're going to notice, I can take a banner on the top. Just so everyone listening knows, there's a little X on that, so you can close it. You've already read it. Just close it. It's fine. So we've got the banner there. Now, once you close that, you're going to see listings right in front of you. Those listings have this weird little icon on them, right? It looks like, is that a shopping cart? It is,
Yes,
right?
it is.
So
yes.
We've instituted shopping cart and checkout for the first bulk purchasing option available to people, where you can shop the entire marketplace, select whatever listings as long as they're V3 listings, add them to your shopping cart, check them all out, one single transaction. Now that's regardless of if they're 721 contract or 1155. What that means for the layman, right? 1155 has bulk transfer. That's a built-in component of 1155 contracts. It is not with 721. That's PaintSwap's contracts doing the heavy lifting to bulk purchase and send 721 items. So that's incredible. The other things that are a part of it, right? We also have made possible bulk offering, where you can make offers on multiple NFTs at one time, whether they're on sale or not, and you can do all of it with one transaction from an easy-to-use grid. We've got bulk listing for those of you Tweaks listening. Tweak, you can bulk list now. Get on that. You got a lot of stuff I want. So you can bulk list. You can bulk remove those listings if you decide, hey, I don't want to sell anymore. Bulk liquidate, where you can select a bunch of different items from a bunch of different collections, and it's going to find you the best offer routes for those, whether they're an offer on your listing, an offer on the item itself, or an offer on the entire collection, which is also now supported by PaintSwap. And all of those actions that I've just mentioned can be done in bulk, along with transfers to multiple wallets at a single time with a single transaction. I've tested it with no problem whatsoever, fast UI, with 80 NFTs at one time. And I've tested it upwards from there. I've gone all the way up to 160. That's a lot. Don't do it. That's too many.
That's a lot.
It works.
The boundaries of how many I own at one time.
But yeah, so we got the bulk transfer. That's all of our bulk options. That's buy, transfer, offer, list, liquidate. For the creators out there, you can now bulk mint a CSV file on your PaintSwap factory contract. So that's pretty dope. And all of our offers have now been made non-custodial through the use of WFTU FTM. So that's wrapped Phantom. That's pretty incredible for me as well. What that means is you hold your funds in W Phantom until your offer is accepted. You don't give those to the contract as we've had in the past. You hold on to them. You can make multiple offers against those same funds. As long as you keep them in wrapped Phantom, you're golden. And hey, you decide, oh man, I got a mint coming up. Unwrap your Phantom. Now you don't got to worry about it. You're not going to get...
What I find extremely rude with a dude who has a wife that loves to shop is the shopping cart. Okay, I'm picturing me on my worst days of shopping for NFTs and just circling back to the very first thing that you said is I look at this little shopping cart and me, either getting a paycheck, or the other thing that I'm so horrible for is I almost never sell NFTs. I'm terrible with it. When I do buy NFTs, I usually, if I do mint, I mint multiple, and I'll let go like one of three, like just to feel like I did. Like I'm a horrible. I don't flip. I'm garbage, right? But I'm a hell of a shopper. And if and when I do actually sell something, instantaneously go buy something else. So
I know. Me too, man. Me too.
So for me to be able to come on here and load up a shopping cart is trouble.
Well, let me tell you about another thing you're going to hate then. So there's this awesome function that I think the community is going to be all about once they really discover the function and how to use it. And it's really simple to use. It's called Sweep the Floor. You may have heard these words before.
I may have heard. I may have participated in such events.
Yeah. So we talk about this on Twitter from time to time, in crypto Twitter and NFT Twitter, right? You're sweeping the floor, just doing your thing, buying some NFTs, And then people start listing them, man, one phantom below where you're buying them at. And you're like, why am I even doing this? I'm not even raising the collection value. Well, now, and I actually did this yesterday or the day before with Feeple. You go click sweep the floor, select just one you want to buy, and it will graduate them in order of cost from lowest to highest. Prioritize the lowest first. You put in the number that you want to buy, you buy them. Single transaction, instantaneously raising the value, the floor value of the collection that you're in.
What?
Hopefully before anyone has the chance to undercut your floor.
What? Oh,
yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I've manually, dusted off many a floor in my day.
Yeah.
Not only, first of all, I love to participate, and usually for me, sometimes it's just a good investment. Sometimes it's just like, have you ever been offended by a floor before?
Yes. Oh man, that's the number one thing for me. That's literally why I did it with the people thing. I looked on there and I was like, "This garbage."
I've been floor offended on in both directions, for the record, right? I've seen collections that I thought were so beautiful and so amazing, and you're looking at these floors and you're like, "Why does this cost and this cost this?" I'll still never understand it. They'll bury me before I'll ever understand it. But that is a really, really cool option. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And I got one more set of functions to laundry list for you. So we've covered about I don't know, 10 functions so far, something like that.
Okay.
There's, in addition to that, another concept instituted by PaintSwap here. It's called the Novel Vault. The reason this is important, okay, right? Custodial listing is necessary for a variety of things. Now, we don't enforce that custodial listing anymore. It's just highly recommended. The main thing that you need a custodial listing for is a financial NFT. Now, the reason being, right, is to prevent any tampering with that financial NFT at the contract level while it is listed. So what that basically means, very briefly, is I've got an NFT that represents 10 FTM, 2 FTM. While you're in the process of buying it, I dump it to 1 FTM. I've just earned an FTM. So that's what I'm talking about here. Vaults are a smart contract deployed by the PaintSwap contracts and then associated with, given ownership to the user, the wallet that is interacting with the PaintSwap contracts at that time. That vault can contain your custodial listings so that you always maintain access to those. There's a very simple API call to find out the owner of a vault. And in our new download holders function that downloads a spreadsheet of everyone who holds items in a collection, all the wallets, vaults attribute to the actual owner. So there's no more missing your whitelist. There's no more missing your airdrops. The vault can receive your airdrop and you can withdraw it at will through the UI. No contract work involved. And this NFT vault concept makes our expanding support of financial NFTs possible. For example, earlier this week, there was a 50,000 FTM sale of an Ooze Finance NFT. Congratulations to Ooze Finance for that.
Wow.
That was out of a custodial vault. Now, would you invest 50,000 FTM in something that you can't guarantee is even the product you're looking at?
Hell no.
Absolutely not. Novel vaults make that possible, and that's with the V3. And of course, we also got rid of all listing fees for verified collections, so you can now list with no fee, allowing you to sell your, you get your free mints or whatever, you can sell them at will now. So that's pretty special as well.
Yeah, so you guys, you would know better than me. Now, some of the things that you've already kind of went through and explained to me, I feel like I've never heard other people doing. So that is definitely the case. You guys, beyond bringing out a V3 and beyond, you guys are pushing the boundaries of what's been done, period. Like things that no one else is doing on any chain, you guys have been implementing with V3.
Well, we don't want to be out here being like, oh man, look at how great we are, right? But I mean, we see a need and we fill it, and that's the bottom line.
It's just,
and if that means
it's just me and you, right? It's just the two of us. You're allowed this a little bit. I mean, that's fair.
Well, I'll tell you the same thing that I told Sandwich earlier. We don't have to flex. We'll let the volume flex for us.
Okay.
We don't. What we do is we see a need and we fulfill that need, right? Whether it's been done before or not is irrelevant to PaintSwap. Do we want to be the first to do a lot of stuff? Of course we do. Everybody likes being first. But I don't subscribe to the Ricky Bobby philosophy. I think that there's technology that we're developing, and I think it will be beneficial to the entire chain as a whole moving forward. But now that being said, yes, we are the first to do many of these things. One thing, we weren't the first. I'll tell you what we weren't the first to institute, but I think that we've instituted it better than anyone else, and that's flash auctions. That's another thing that we've made possible as a result of the NFT vault.
Explain it for Ethel.
All right, Ethel. So your flash auction, right? Flash auction is when you're walking in the door of the Walmarts and the guy there waving at you saying hello says, hey, just so you know, only for the next hour can you buy milk in this store. That's the idea behind a flash auction, right? You only got 1 hour to bid. You only got 30 minutes to bid. You only got 5 minutes to bid. Now, the potential of the flash auction is pretty amazing, right? Because I don't know if you've seen this on my Twitter, but I've been hosting a private auction, just like 3 artists, 5 pieces, whatever, a few collectors, and the holders of one of my collections, the Inanimates. Now, in that auction, this past go-around, I did a test run using offers on unlisted items, right? And that filtered the earnings of the artists through their PaintSwap collection. What that did was that took every artist that was involved in my auction and put them in the top 10 volume for 24 hours on PaintSwap. Now imagine an entire auction of 30 pieces run through flash auctions in Discord or not. It doesn't matter. You can run it however you want to run it. But those flash auctions, those automatically guarantee the funds of the bidder, and they automatically route that volume through that artist collection, benefiting the artist, benefiting the buyer because they know that the item exists and it's right there in front of them. They can see it. And you can make them last as short as 5 minutes. It's a beautiful. And our anti-snipe's been improved too. Yes, it's fun, man. And our anti-snipe's been improved too. So like we had it extending out to such a degree that type of live auction wasn't really possible, right? Because it was infinite. It just lasted way too darn long, COMA.
Yeah, I get it.
But we've shortened that anti-snipe time period to allow for that live implementation of them. And that's awesome. We weren't able to do flash auctions, but by God, we did it right,
Yeah, and maybe did it better than many have done it in the past.
Maybe. We'll let the users decide that.
Understood, and incredible. Now, I know, I know we're nearing an hour, but now I want to hear what I want to hear, and I don't care about A-Rod. I'm tabling. You can turn it off now. You can turn it off. Now, I
didn't tell him to say that, A-Rod, just so you know.
2 things. Let me toot your horn. You're obviously a really intelligent dude, so there's a couple things that I wanted to ask about for your opinion in this space. Now, what things are coming down the pike or things that you see? It doesn't necessarily have to be art-related because you mentioned financial NFTs. Now, as far as NFTs and what's going to be coming down the pike in the future for PaintSwap and beyond, like what are the things that are coming down the pike that you're excited for? It can be V4, you know what I mean, or and beyond. Now, NFT wise, like I said, I feel like a lot of people just kind of you can see beyond it, right? You're very Neo in the Matrix-esque as far as seeing more, right? Like many people are just seeing a piece of art or whatever. Oh, an NFT is a snapshot of a piece of art, and you can see beyond that. Now, what do you see coming? What is interesting to you that's going to be coming?
I'll tell you the most interesting thing, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So PaintSwap is the only marketplace on Phantom that supports C1155. Now, I've mentioned that a couple of times, that 1155 differentiation. It's really incredible to me that more projects are not taking advantage of the 1155 protocol, because what this contract does, this is not for Ethel. Ethel, you're not going to understand this, but I'm going to do my best. Yeah, I'm going to do my best to make it work for everybody else. So the way that an 1155 contract works is that in a traditional 721 contract, you have an asset, an ID, 1, 2, 3. Easy peasy, right? In 1155 contracts, in addition to the bulk the bulk transfer functionality, you have a quantity of every ID that you ever mint. And the reason that 1155 is built that way is because it's made to be an ecosystem contract, not an NFT contract alone. But say this. Let's say I'm releasing a new project next week. I'm going to release Pi Show tiles. And for every Pi Show tile that you hold, you can burn it at any time and get 500 tokens. So normally that would mean that I have an ERC21 contract full of tokens. Now I got my 721 with my Pi Show tiles in it, right? These Pi Show tiles exist for a game in this scenario. Well, now in having these two contracts, one of which can be given liquidity at any time by anyone, anywhere, that's the ERC21 token contract, I can instead mint 1 billion tokens as ID1 on this contract. And I don't give you anything off another contract. I give you 500 of this ID1. Here's 500 of it. Now you can spend that ID1 in game. Now what that means for your developer is you're interfaced with one single contract. You're speaking to the function on one single contract rather than two contracts along with whatever mechanism you're going to use to either house those tokens or burn those tokens. If you don't have a burn token built into your ERC7 or a burn function built into your 721 contract, like all kinds of stuff. The advantages are insane. Now that's in GameFi. I made a tweet thread the other day. Imagine this. Imagine that 1155 contract is used to publicly transpose between one entity to another, where instead of sending your actual money from place to place, bank to bank, to distribute it, you're distributing tokens in quantities, right? Every ID is a different fiscal quarter. So if you've got $10,000 for fiscal quarter 1 on ID 1, you might have 10,000 tokens. And those 10,000 tokens get distributed among your various departments. Those departments can cash those tokens in to get their funding. So they don't have to have access to your bank account or your wallet or whatever. They don't do that, right? You house your funds in a smart contract, and the burning of that token is what transmits those funds. Like that's possible due to an 1155. So it's wild to me that these are not widely implemented. You know, it's the most revolutionary tech out there. I worry that if Phantom doesn't get our act together here, there's going to be some new, bigger standard ahead of that that's going to come out, and then we're 2 generations behind.
No, they're going to live the same way, and they're going to reprioritize. Right?
Yeah.
They're gonna
Double Sharp's listening to this AMA and he's like, wow, what an idiot.
They're gonna reprioritize the workflow that's going on right now and straighten it out based on exactly what you just said. At least I hope that's what's happening, because it's totally true, and that's wild. Now, before I let you go, because we're at an hour, Now, again, can I get in one more selfish one? Do you mind? Are you in a hurry?
Let's go. Let's do it, man.
All right. Let's selfish one more time. Talk to me about NFT wise. What's hot right now? What's popping? What's been going on? PaintSwap wise, you could talk to me about one of your favorites and like what's doing big volume. What have people been talking about the Discord? Like what's been hot right now? It doesn't necessarily have to be one artist. You could talk about GameFi just in general on the NFT space. Like what's hot right now?
Well, if I'm going to be perfectly frank, the highest volume NFT collection on Phantom is Magic Cats. Spooky.
Okay,
and
I own one.
It consistently delivers. We're talking about a collection. I don't remember the exact number, but it's over 1.4 million FTM in total volume since it's been on PaintSwap. I mean, it's an old collection, right?
Yeah.
We'll take that in mind.
I remember.
We're talking about a lot of money here that's changed hands on these Magic Cats, and Spooky is just continuing to add utility to them. So as far as like what is the biggest, right? What is the biggest? It just is categorically, which is really interesting because no one's out here talking about it. You don't hear the buzz about Magic Cats.
That's
They're
true.
Just working away, killing it.
Now that you say it, I never even really thought of. I'm an owner. I'm also, use it to boost my Expo and everything else. I utilize the NFT, which is another thing, not to be kind of childish about it, but I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed attaching utility to something I thought was cool. Like I wasn't a part of the original mint because I'm a jackass. Whatever. I missed it. I don't remember. I don't remember the circumstances. And for the record, I'm pretty sure it minted out in like minutes or seconds. I don't know. It was super, super fast. Maybe whatever happened, I didn't get on it. So I had to buy mine secondary market. Mixed emotions because sometimes you go hand pick something that you love, right? Like I love a mint. I'm a mint junkie. I absolutely love minting things. I love the randomization of it. But that said, there's also something magical about handpicking one that you think is a banger, right? Which I did, and I've been holding on to it or more than one for quite some time, and being able to utilize it to boost pools, like you said, utility-wise, I think that's been great. And I would assume due to the success of Magic Cats, not beer on the mind, Magic Cat, that we will see more things like it, would you guess? Or?
Well, I think that it's a smart concept, the way that they've applied the utility. It's not just let us hold your NFT, and because we're holding it, you'll earn some money. It's, no, you are an investor. Here is a tool for your investment to grow better. And that's a very smart way to frame that. Because what that does is that puts buy pressure on the token, that puts stake pressure on the token, that puts buy pressure on the NFT, and that puts stake pressure on the NFT. That's powerful. That's a lot. Where's my inclination to sell? Nowhere. I'm earning money. And all of my assets are appreciating right now. Every one of them. That's pretty incredible. Not to mention Spooky is the #1 DEX on Phantom, period. And it will, as far as I can tell, is going to remain that way. It's a solid platform.
I've never considered selling mine.
Right, exactly.
and over the last couple of months, there's been some rough months. There's been some tight weeks. I'm sure myself, along as many, has looked at, portfolios all the way down to NFT portfolios and have thought dark thoughts, right? On certain dark weeks. But I have to say that my Magic Cat, that was one of the ones that you're right. I think I tabled that I was like, this is just not what I'm selling. But I do
Why would you sell it?
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to, let's end on a PaintSwap high note. Now, as far as what PaintSwap's going to be getting into over the next, let's call it year, 6 months, like what else do we have coming down the pike? I know you just did the V3, but is there any other bigger vision or anything to expect in the future here?
Well, we're currently in the immediate future, we're looking at making more data available to our users on the collections that they love. We think that that's really important. That's something we've been asked a lot for. That got tabled for V3. So we're working on that right now. In addition to that, we will be moving forward in addressing the traversability of NFTs, though how that will look for PaintSwap, we haven't decided yet. We're just paying attention around us as it grows and making the adjustments that need to be made to continue to thrive in that world, in the blockchain world. We don't want to get by. We want to pioneer and lead for the foreseeable future in this market. And the way to do that is to every single day of the week, pay attention, every single day of the week, reprioritize while staying on brand and on topic. And that's very important to us. You'll be seeing some things coming very soon. You know us. We don't like to talk about what we're doing before we do it.
I'm not talking straight about the alpha. I'm just I want to end on a high note of the bright future that is PaintSwap. That's all. Nothing more.
The bright future that is PaintSwap is being built right now by all of the amazing creators in the blockchain world that make what we do possible. I'll give you this. I've been a part of a lot of teams and a lot of projects. I've been independent. I've worked with others. But the surety of success with PaintSwap is as strong as any I've ever had.
And I've seen it. I've watched it grow. Now that we're looking through the V3, and as we're talking, I've been playing around and looking at what you guys have going on, and it's insane. I'm open to you guys tooting your horn a little bit more, personally, making the public aware of how rad everything is, and that's coming along. But I appreciate you coming out. I'd like to say, or as a closing thought, I want to just say how much I appreciate the people that are going on behind the scenes. You know these guys that are putting in work day in and day out, from PaintSwap to all these other projects. I know sometimes, loudmouths like me and you become the face of some of these things.
But I know, doesn't that just suck?
I know, I feel so guilty. I feel so guilty. When really, I'm like a buffoon. I have no business being out here. The real work is going on behind the scenes. But I really do appreciate what you guys are doing. You taking the time to come on and talk with me. And either sometime in the future, maybe V4, maybe when there's just something else new and exciting coming on, maybe we can hang out again and do something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone who's listening has any questions about the upcoming PaintSwap stuff or our recently released features, you can feel free to message me. I'm happy to go around to communities and give you all talks about V3 if you want to learn about how it can benefit your community directly. I work a tight schedule, so bear with me, but you're welcome to reach out to the opportunity. Thank you very much, COMA.
Dude, hit the Discords, hit the Telegram, troll this man, find him, track him down. He wants to answer your questions. He will handle it for sure. No,
there's nothing I love more than answering end user questions. But dude, COMA, really, man, dude, it's awesome getting to speak with you, man. It's been too long.
Dude, it's been way too long. And I really appreciate your time. We blasted past, and I know we could do another, but another day, another. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone who listened tonight. And man, I will talk to you soon.